And so not only is it possible, it's ongoing, it's bearing fruit, and it's bearing the most fruit where you aren't looking.
Mm.
That's why I think people may be suspicious about whether or not this is even a thing, because there's no guarantee that you're going to notice the ways in which there is reconciliation and healing. Those are intimate and personal things. And so I think we need to be conscious that this isn't necessarily going to be able to be graded according to how many of the calls to action from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's final report have been fulfilled and within what timeline. If all of those could be said to be done, or do we have reconciliation now? Is it accomplished? No one would say yes to that.
Mm.
So then if we don't know how we're even measuring this, maybe we should stop measuring and just keep doing and remain committed to that. That's what the church in Canada, our bishops, led by our bishops, has been trying to do. And those who militate against that don't want reconciliation. They want to preserve a spirit of discord that makes everybody easier to control and manipulate. If you keep people at each other's throats, then you don't get anything done.
Yeah. You've said a lot there, Father Cristino. So let's just go back. I mean, one of the first things you said, and I want to give you the opportunity to explain kind of what you mean, but you said kind of initially, like, I always want to be clear on, what's kind of reported. And I don't know if you said facts or something else, like there's a discrepancy. Like, what do you mean by that in the Kamloops case?
What I mean is that in Kamloops, we were told in May of 2021 that the remains of 215 children had been found at the site of a former residential school. And the first phrase that was used and reported even in the New York Times was a mass grave. That is a category that conjures an image from other instances in history that are associated with the intentional and systematic slaughter of a group of people that you either didn't care about, so you dumped them all in a pit, or you were trying to hide. People then took that image and said, Catholic priests and or nuns did this to Indigenous children here. And fast forward a week, a month, and churches are burning down. So that was how this started. Now we've had this backtracking. I have contacts and friends in the media who I was very almost aggressively challenging about how this was being communicated, and the language that they were using needed to be precise, and it wasn't. And that recklessness was to blame for some of what was happening. And then we started hearing, well, not mass graves, but unmarked graves, and then probable graves and potential graves. And now we started using the word anomalies.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty big, I don't want to call it a downgrade, but it's a clarification, if even potentially seeming more ambiguous, which is to say, maybe we don't know what we have claimed to find beneath the surface of the earth by ground penetrating radar, which only can ever tell us where there is some anomalous thing under the surface, not what that thing is. And so this whole unraveling was completely avoidable. And because it was avoidable, it leaves one to wonder whether or not it was intended.
That, and thank you for sharing. It's not easy to talk about because there's a lot of polarizations, a lot of doubt over, different things. I mean, I can remember, working for a diocese very proximate to Kamloops when it came out. I remember the phrase that ran in every major media outlet, which said, the remains of 215 children, some as young as 3. That was the part. And it was ran everywhere. And then you're right. It went from something else, and settled on these anomalies. But it's not easy to talk about. But when we think of healing and the relationship with healing and truth and reconciliation, I have a bit of a, I don't know if the proper term is Venn diagram, but I have 2 circles in mind. One is a circle of truth. The other is a circle of reconciliation. And where they meet and converge is where healing can actually take place.